Dr. John Montague, a scholar of the supernatural, believes he has found the perfect subject for his study. Hill House, a mansion in the countryside long believed to be cursed. For decades, rumors of strange deaths, madness, and spectral visitations have clung to the estate like a damp fog. Determined to explore it scientifically, Montague rents the house for the summer. But he knows he cannot face it alone, so he sends invitations to individuals with past brushes with the unexplained. Only 2 respond. Eleanor Vance, a lonely, drifting woman in her early 30s, still lives under the oppressive shadow of her recently deceased mother. Her one brush with the supernatural. Stones falling from the sky onto her house as a child makes her a candidate, but it's the emotional hunger that drives her to go. She sees this as an escape, a chance to reinvent herself, to belong somewhere. She steals her sister's car and leaves her gray life behind, as if stepping into a dream. Theodora, vibrant, sarcastic, and free-spirited, is the opposite of Eleanor. She claims to have psychic sensitivity, though she's never taken it seriously. She sees the trip more as an adventure than a serious experiment. And finally, there's Luke Sanderson, a charming, skeptical young man and heir to Hill House. He is required to accompany the group by the family who still owns the house, more to protect the property than to join the ghost hunt. The 4 arrive and meet at Hill House, an imposing structure with a face like a skull, constructed at odd angles that make every room subtly wrong. The air is always cold. The doors don't stay open unless wedged. The house seems to lean inward, listening. From the beginning, Eleanor is enthralled. She feels seen, noticed, as if the house recognizes her. She hears something in its silence, a pulse, a breath, a voice too quiet to make out, but present. They try to make the house feel like home, laughing at their fear, sharing meals, exploring its many locked rooms and neglected halls. But beneath the surface, tension simmers. The house is not empty, it's only waiting. From the very first night, it becomes clear. Hill House is not sleeping. It starts small. A cold spot in the nursery that never warms, no matter how long they keep the door open. Theodora jokes about it, brushing it off. Luke tries to act unfazed, but the shadows in that room seem to stretch just a little too far. Dr. Montague takes notes, fascinated. Only Eleanor seems truly affected. She begins to feel watched, even in silence. One morning, after a quiet breakfast, Theodora screams from her bedroom. On the wall, in what looks like chalk or something darker, a message is scrawled. "Help Eleanor come home." The words are jagged, desperate, written by a hand that trembled or shook with rage. The message chills the entire group, not just for what it says, but how it knows Eleanor's name. Dr. Montague notes that the spirit may be targeting her. Eleanor insists she didn't write it herself, but a seed of doubt is planted in Theodora's mind. The tension between the 2 women starts to simmer. That night, the pounding begins. It echoes through the hallways like fists on a giant door. First down the corridor, then outside Eleanor and Theodora's shared bedroom. The walls seem to breathe. The doorknob rattles violently and someone scratches at the wood. Eleanor covers her ears and huddles with Theodora in bed. They don't dare speak. The sounds stop just as suddenly as they started. When they wake, the hallway is undisturbed. The others heard nothing. During the day, they try to carry on. But the mood in the house is shifting. Doors swing closed without warning. The hallways seem longer. Windows that once looked onto the garden now reflect only darkness. One afternoon, Eleanor steps into a room she swears she's seen before, but inside it feels entirely foreign, filled with cold and the faint scent of decay. She tries to leave, but the door has vanished. Just wall, just stillness. A heartbeat later, it's there again, as if it never left. Dr. Montague continues documenting everything, excited by the level of activity but cautious. He urges the group not to provoke the house. "Let it come to us," he says. "The house has its own rhythms, its own desires." But Eleanor is no longer just observing. She begins to feel pulled, gently, invisibly, by something deeper within Hill House. She dreams in whispers. She wakes with words in her mouth that she doesn't understand. She wanders hallways she doesn't remember entering. At night, she stands at her window, staring out into the black woods beyond the iron gates. She doesn't remember how long she's been doing that. She doesn't remember if she started on her own or if something called her there. Eleanor is changing. At first, it's subtle. She forgets things. A conversation she just had. A hallway she's certain didn't exist the day before. She begins to talk in a dreamy, distracted way, sometimes about things that haven't happened, or perhaps already have. The others notice, but no one knows what to say. Theodora grows distant. Luke jokes less. Dr. Montague scribbles notes with increasing urgency. But Eleanor feels wonderful, liberated. The walls of Hill House seem to hold her, the house breathing with her, its heart beating alongside hers. She thinks the others are intruding, outsiders. She, however, belongs. The manifestations escalate. One night, the pounding returns, more violent this time, like a massive fist slamming down the corridor. The lights flicker. The temperature drops so suddenly it burns. They all gather in the parlor, shivering. The air vibrates with something just out of sight. Then the laughter begins. It's childlike, giggling, but it twists, warping into something shrill and cruel. A lamp shatters on the floor. Books fly from shelves, pages fluttering like panicked birds. Eleanor simply watches, eyes wide, not afraid, but enthralled. Later, as Theodora and Eleanor rest in their room, a new horror slithers in. Something invisible begins to move just beyond the edge of their bed. The air grows thick. A presence presses down around them. Eleanor reaches out in the dark, whispering Theodora's name, and grabs a hand. A cold, clammy, trembling hand. Then the light turns on. Theodora is across the room. Eleanor screams. The thing she held is gone. "What was holding my hand?" she asks, voice barely a whisper. No one answers. Theodora begins avoiding her. There's an unspoken rift between them now, a growing unease. One day, Theodora's room is ransacked, clothes shredded, paint smeared on the walls like blood. Eleanor is the only one unaccounted for during the time it happened. Was it me? Eleanor wonders aloud. Did I do it? Or did the house, through me? She begins to drift through Hill House like a ghost herself, barefoot, silent, barely present. She talks to mirrors, stares into dark corners and smiles. She begins calling Hill House we, her voice affectionate, like someone addressing a beloved companion. Dr. Montague tries to intervene, but Eleanor brushes him off. She wants me, she says, touching the wall. She's glad I'm here. Dr. Montague becomes visibly disturbed. He confides in Luke that Eleanor may be too psychologically fragile to remain, but it might already be too late. One night they find Eleanor dancing in the parlor alone, twirling to music only she can hear. her eyes glassy and unblinking. She whispers, "She's inside me now. She's showing me everything." Theodora pleads with her, "You're scaring us." Eleanor only laughs. "I'm not scared anymore." Eleanor has lost her grip on reality. She is no longer just a guest at Hill House. She's part of it. She speaks as though the house is her confidant, her guardian, even her lover. Her identity begins to dissolve into its walls, her sense of self eroded by whatever force resides there. She wanders hallways for hours, often with no memory of how she got from one place to another. She talks to herself, or maybe to the house. She sees visions. A woman crying behind a locked door, a child begging for help, laughter echoing from nowhere. The others grow truly frightened. Theodora tries to reconnect with her, but Eleanor lashes out, jealous, paranoid, eerily calm. Dr. Montague finally decides she must leave Hill House for her own safety. Eleanor resists. She insists the house needs her. She believes she was chosen. She becomes hysterical when they begin to pack her things. "This is my home," she screams. "It's the only place I've ever belonged." They don't listen. But the house does. That night, Eleanor slips away unnoticed and roams through the house in a daze. The halls twist and warp around her. She sees past tragedies, glimpses of others the house has consumed. She feels their grief and madness like a wave crashing through her. Is it possession or freedom? She doesn't know anymore. She doesn't care. Hill House is her truth now. Eleanor is no longer herself. Whatever fragments of her former life existed have dissolved. The house has taken hold, not just of her mind, but something deeper. She is part of it now. And it, her. Despite her pleas, the group insists she must leave. They escort her to her car, her suitcase packed. Dr. Montague tries to be gentle but firm. Luke opens the gates. Theodora can't meet her eyes. Eleanor drives away, but something's wrong. Her thoughts come in spirals, disconnected, drifting. She narrates her own descent in fragmented poetry and memories. She wonders aloud, "Why didn't they stop me? Then why am I going?" No one can say whether it was an accident or if the house called her back one final time. Dr. Montague abandons the investigation. He writes a final report. Hill House is unfit for human habitation, not because it's evil, but because it is insane. Theodora and Luke leave. Life goes on. But Hill House remains. Silent, patient, listening. Its walls remember Eleanor. And it waits.